Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Breaking Boundaries, the world's premier podcast for international students, or at least in the top 25. I'm joined here today by Dr. Murtaza Haider of the Toronto Metropolitan University School of Business Management. Murtaza, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so my first question, I was looking at your CV, and it's overwhelming. You're a professor of data science and real estate management. You're also a research director. You run your own data analytics firm. You're a journalist. So my first question is, when do you find time to sleep?
I do find time to sleep. I highly recommend sleeping. People who don't sleep make more mistakes than those who don't, who have regular sleep. I just try to organize things in a proper way. There's no secret sauce. Just be a little organized and don't procrastinate. Don't watch cat videos on TikTok.
That's fair enough. I do have a no cell phone in the bedroom rule that I've implemented, and I think it's impacted my sleep in a positive way. Unfortunately, my 3-year-old and 5-year-old see things differently. So let me ask you another curiosity. Toronto Metropolitan University, you were located in the heart of one of the world's most dynamic metropolitan areas. But tell me a little bit more about what makes your university unique.
Many things are so distinguished about the Toronto Metropolitan University in our Faculty of Management, the Ted Rogers School of Management. Many universities, so first of all, we are blessed with some very good institutions in Toronto. We have Toronto Metropolitan University, we have York University, and we have University of Toronto and many other good quality colleges. What sets us apart is our business focus. We have always been focused on careers because Ryerson, or we were used to be called Ryerson University, and before that Ryerson Polytechnic University, and the evolution of this institution has been along the lines of preparing young minds for careers in all sorts of different careers, not just business or economics, but in engineering and sciences and whatnot. It is a career-focused approach and making our students career-ready. And as we approach this artificial intelligence era, we are now focused on making our students automation-proof or robotic-proof. So this focus on careers and preparing people for life has distinguished us. We have not embarked on those traditional, some of the traditional ways that universities work, like a focus on philosophy and whatnot. This came in later in our evolution. We started off with very practical training. So that in our DNA, the distinguishing factor had always been preparing students for careers in whatever areas of life they choose. And that's why we have been so fortunate that our people who apply to us, we used to be the one, and we have, until very recently, we were the most applied to university in Canada or in Ontario, our province. And that's the reason being that our reputation has always been that if you want to build a career, if you want to get the education that prepares you for careers, come to Toronto Metropolitan University.
It makes perfect sense. On your website, the university describes in great detail its experiential learning, and being in the economic hub of this part of North America, I imagine confers more opportunities. On this career note, I'm glad you bring it up because I am curious. A lot of prospective international students are curious about what life looks like beyond graduation. So for students who are eyeing a career in business management, perhaps other fields, who are coming from overseas, there have been many policy shifts, probably more policy shifts forthcoming in the next few years. What tips do you have for international students who are thinking about that post-graduation career, potentially in Canada, maybe back home?
Yes, let me just start by saying that our very location in downtown Toronto, we are a downtown located university, which means that within a 10-minute walk from our campus, we have 500,000 jobs in Toronto. Because we are right next to downtown, or we are in downtown Toronto. So the Ted Rogers School of Management, the business school's address is 575 Bay Street, and Bay Street is Canada's Wall Street. So if you say, well, we are located in Wall Street, it's the same as in saying Wall Street in New York or Bay Street in Toronto. And within a 1 kilometer radius, there are about 500,000 jobs. And that is why, because the Toronto's employment market is the employment hub of Canada. So all those jobs are concentrated here. So if you're looking into engineering or business or applied fields, chances are that the job you will get will be within walking distance of the campus. Now, The thing is that that is Canada, came a little late to international students. Before us, it was New Zealand and Australia and then United States, and before all of them, Great Britain, where international students have gone in the past. Now, as our reputation increased in Canada globally, and people learned about the 90 plus universities we have in Canada, and these are all public sector universities, so they started to come from abroad to Canada. And then at one point in 2002, we were getting about 600,000 international students to Canada, which was far more, maybe four times more than we had accepted in before the COVID pandemic. And then those numbers have been scaled down a bit because of the capacity issues. And also, many of those students were going to colleges, not to universities. Universities never had the capacity issue. Most universities have tons of capacity. Now, despite the changes in regulations, if you are an international student and if you're focused on getting good quality education at a university in Canada, the changes do not affect you much. There are new quotas, but those quotas are designed to have universities get priority on getting and attracting the best students, because we were losing a lot of students to colleges. I mentioned that we have public sector colleges and they're tremendously good quality colleges. But then a lot of the private sector colleges and some were sort of dubious credentials were also got in and it started bringing in people, and that created a little bit of problem here. But the fact is that if you look at a Canadian university, if it says University of Toronto, if it says Toronto Metropolitan University, if it says McGill University, if it says Cape Breton universities, these are all big size, small size university. We have 46,000 students at Toronto Metropolitan. University of Toronto has over 90,000 students. Cape Breton may be a smaller institution with 8,000 students. Doesn't matter the size, doesn't matter where they are. Canada's public sector universities are of tremendous quality, tremendous rigor, and the ability to come here and study at a university allows you, from a 4-year degree program, if you're at an undergraduate level, or a master's program, it allows you to be able to apply for a work permit after graduation. And that work permit could be up to, I believe, 3 years. Regulations are changing, but still you can apply for a work permit and then work and gain experience related to your field of education that you've just been trained. So there are career aspects. It doesn't really matter if you want to finish your degree as an international student and you may want to go back to your home country, or you may say, let me try it now. Let me augment my educational experience with work experience. So there's a very good chance, there's actually a very good, if you're successful in completing a degree from a university, the transition into a work permit is straightforward. And then you get the work permit, and then you decide if you want to have a 1, 2, 3 year experience. And after that, again, it's your decision. Do you want to stay and build a life in Canada, or you want to return to your home country? People have obligations, aging parents, family, siblings, businesses to take care of. So it's entirely up to you, but it adds this freedom for you to decide, maybe I want to add another 1, 2, or 3 years to my life in Canada and get practical experience. So yes, regulations have changed, but they do not affect universities as much. There are additional requirements that we have to go through to get our students, international students, but it does not really create a big problem. It is still the best place to be for international students to get higher education.
I think it's very well said, and probably puts a lot of minds at ease. You mentioned the size of Toronto Metropolitan, 46,000 students. I went to a college in the U.S. that had about 3,000 undergraduates, and we had international students, but it was one student from this country and one student from that country. And I think they often felt like they were on an island. So, moving beyond the course curriculum, socially with 46,000 students, many of whom are international, is it fair to say that students are more likely to find cohorts, peers of the same creed, nationality, religion, affinity, etc.?
Absolutely. Now, that's where Toronto's magic comes in. Toronto is one of the world's most diverse cities. You can think of a cuisine and there's a restaurant within walking distance. You can think of a faith belief system, and there is a place of worship within walking distance for you. This kind of high diversity, this kind of diversity in food, culture, languages, faiths, beliefs is unparalleled. You have to be in New York, only other place where this kind of diversity exists. And I've traveled excessively through the United States and even lived in New York. I can tell you that there's no other place like Toronto, and if there is one, it's probably New York. And that kind of diversity allows you to come into Canada, study at Toronto Metropolitan University, and then at the very moment be connected in the school with the community of your peers and people of the same background, and with almost no effort, be part of the larger diaspora that comes from your background. So the biggest cohorts in Canada, in Toronto, are the Chinese, the South Asians, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the Arabs, Vietnam. We have a very robust, growing Filipino community. So this is unbelievable how many, and the best way to see it is to see the diversity in restaurants. I know that a former student of mine went back to Halifax after studying with me, and then one day wrote, he said, "Hey, professor, just to let you know, we have the third Thai restaurant opened in Halifax." So and here, I think you will find 30 Thai restaurants in downtown Toronto within walking distance. So you can imagine that once you land here, and it's a strange place because still there's a novelty of place. And it's not the same. When I was a student, there was no YouTube. We couldn't just go on YouTube and take a campus tour or see how the city looks like. And if you're not in New York or San Francisco, there are no movies shot in your town, right? It's like, if you want to see New York, there are 100 movies that you can watch and see how New York looks like. But now with all this social media around us, you can see, just if you're a student interested in Toronto Metropolitan University, go on YouTube, type the name of the university, and watch those thousands of videos that we have produced, but even more authentic are the ones that students and others have produced, to get a feeling of the campus, to get a feeling of what people think. Our best ambassadors are our students and alums. They'll tell you that the best investment they made in their lives is coming to Toronto Metropolitan University.
I listen. Now I'm hungry. There's no cuisine that I have more affinity for than Nepalese cuisine. So I Google mapped Nepalese food in Toronto. There are dozens of options. So I just picked one country.
Yes.
Now
Pick
I'm
whatever.
hungry.
It's amazing. There are like, pick the South Indian vegetarian cuisine, and then look for a place in, let's say you want to go to Ithaca, if you are interested in one of the universities there, and see how many restaurants you'll find there, and then click on Toronto and see how many you will find. It's just unbelievable. There's no comparison. And see,
Yes.
the reason the restaurants are doing so well is because the diaspora is doing well. You can't have a Vietnamese cuisine scene that is doing well, but the community is not doing well. It's just because all these communities are thriving. We do get economic and social challenges, but they're more economic. The beauty of downtown Toronto is one of the safest downtowns. You can walk at evenings, midnights, leave at 3 a.m. This is a safe place. And the reason it's a safe place is because people have invested in making this place safe. And that's the thing, that if you come into a new place, you're always worried, because it's the strangeness of the place has an initial concern for many newcomers. But you will join Toronto as a very welcoming place. And I would say that pretty much all of Canadian towns are very welcoming. It just, there's no culture of a community complaining that they felt unwelcome. The diversity of this place is the reason why Canadian cities are succeeding.
A couple quick cultural questions. Number one, a student has a Saturday off. They want to see a professional sporting event. What would you recommend? Raptors, Maple Leafs, or Blue Jays? What's the best sporting experience?
So Canada is hockey. The ice hockey is not a game
Yes.
sport here. It's a religion. You will discover it very quickly that even people who don't never skated are deeply invested in hockey. And the Maple Leafs are the local hockey team. And the best experience to have is to watch a hockey game, because you will then join it, in an arena filled with 25,000 other fans. You'll feel the energy. So we also have a good basketball team, which won the NBA a few years ago, the Toronto Raptors. That's also a worthwhile experience. We have 2 large arenas near us, and I must say the most respected, revered arena for ice hockey was called the Maple Leafs Gardens. and that's in downtown Toronto where Maple Leafs played, and it was recognized as the place for hockey in North America. This was, and then at some point we built a new arena and transitioned to the new arena. But our university, Toronto Metropolitan University, bought Maple Leafs Gardens and revamped it and made a smaller arena. So our ice hockey team from the university and our gym and our other facilities are now in the same building where once Maple Leaf Gardens were. And we kept the facade, we kept the outward, but we gutted the whole inside. And we have a 5,000 seat arena for ice hockey, and we have Canada's best gym facilities because we built it at the same level as its professional athletes. So we have abundance of space, and once you play there or work out there, you will be exercising where hockey's finest once played. The other thing is if you're coming from international, let's say from India, the tremendous amount of cricket that is happening here. We have cricket fields. Almost every big gym has squash. We have tennis courts all around. There's a new sport called pickleball that has come up, so there are lots of those. And then the cultural events. If you open the cultural side of the city's calendar, it's filled with multicultural events and hundreds, if not thousands. It's just a very busy city with lots for everyone.
Outside sports, let's say a student has a weekend day to kill. What's an underrated cultural gem? Could be art, theater, music, something you recommend everyone
I'll say a
visit.
few things. So we have a town nearby called Stratford, and they run the Shaw Festival, the Bernard Shaw Festival, and there's lots of theaters. And if you really want to appreciate Bernard Shaw or other plays, not just Shaw's plays, but Stratford is a town that you should visit in summer. Obviously, we are just an hour away from Niagara Falls. The first time you see the Niagara Falls, you will feel it in your heart. It's just unbelievable. What an amazing demonstration of nature's very best right in front of you. I've been here for 30 years, and I make numerous trips a year just to go there, sit down and watch the falls, and actually walk up and see the river falling in rather than just looking at the fall. It's just unbelievable. As the river approaches the fall from the upstream, this is something that there's no parallel in the entire world. If you go 2 hours north of Toronto, there's a region called Muskokas, and Muskokas has the most amazing landscapes and lakes. There are thousands of big and small lakes in Muskokas, surrounded by trees and surrounded by small hills. And you are there, and then you look at the landscape, and you will not believe your eyes. You will say, if the time can stop, it should stop right now, because that's how beautiful and pristine it is. Pristine waters, you don't have to think twice. Just jump in if you could, especially if you're a swimmer. Avoid if you're not, but jump into the water and experience life. The best thing is Muskokas lakes and landscapes. I challenge you. You will feel like you don't want to leave that place.
I think at the end of this conversation, I'm going to go on Expedia and book a flight today. Toronto's a wonderful place. You mentioned Bernard Shaw. One of Bernard Shaw's plays is The Man of Destiny. I think for many students, Canada feels like their destiny, and I hope that this inspires many future students to head to
Absolutely.
downtown Toronto.
You know, I must say, and I always say this because I have young children and I take them to ice hockey and soccer fields, which many in the world call football. I think citizens are raised in soccer fields and ice hockey arenas and libraries. That's where the sense of citizenship and belonging, and that what President Kennedy once said: "Ask not what you can, what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country." That kind of citizenship, it happens in these places, that you train people and inculcate those values. So if you're an international student and you come here, you will feel that sense of citizenship all around you, especially if you come from a place where there's a level of mistrust between the government and citizens, where it is harsh or friction between law enforcement and citizens. You will see here, and I want you to imagine this picture because it happens all the time. You will see here that if there's a police car parked somewhere, and there are police officers standing outside, you will see that the children, young children, toddlers, run to them and give them a hug. And that's the level of trust that law enforcement and the state has built with citizens. It's not just education, it's not just libraries, it's not just universities and professors. It's that sense of trust that this place has built between the state and the society, between the people who are governed and people who are governing them. You feel you have to experience this different way of trust that exists in the society. And I believe that once you see it, despite the fact that you may want to go back or stay, even if you go back, you will take that level of learning and experience and share it with others, because it's what we have in Canada needs. It is needed badly elsewhere as well.
Ah, a perfect encapsulation of some of the benefits of international study beyond just academics and work, but also exposure to peace and prosperity afforded by a country like Canada. Murtaza Haider, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.